Hey guys, it's Garami1 here, and welcome to another session of Dark Souls PvP. Today we've got a lovely PvP showcase in the form of Lord Falcon. It's a Falcon build, and the reason why I decided to make it is because I found that since the newest patch, not many people have uploaded any builds that's based on the Falcon. So here it is, here's me tearing people up with this lovely build. Now the thing with the Lord Falcon build is obviously he's very solely much based on the Falcon. But on top of that, he is also the master of curved blades. So he's going to use the Chattel, he's going to use the Gold Tracer, he's going to use also the Fury Sword, and obviously the Falcon as well. So depending on the matchups, as you will see, he'll be using all these different weapons, okay, to literally carve up his opponents. Now on top of that, as you will notice that he is also a full-fledged mage. He's got the Homing Crystal Soul Mass to protect himself. He's got his Crystal Soul Spear, obviously, to stab people from afar. We've also got Dark Bead to scare people away, and also Fire Tempest. So, very high risk, high reward build, as you can see. So it's a 45 dex, 45 int build. Not really used. I wouldn't recommend this build for people starting out, obviously. And on top of that, when I use Lord Falcon, I believe Lord Falcon is the type of character who puts limitations on himself. Okay, and it's very important that we go through these limitations because this build wasn't really made to be a try-hard build in a sense. It's a really challenging build to use. Now, first limitation, no Dust Crown. Okay, so you don't want to one-shot anyone, so automatically that rules out Dust Crown. You don't really want to use the Fellowship Dragon Ring, and on top of that, you don't want to use the Tin Crystal Catalyst. So those are the things that you don't want to use. Now on top of that, you don't want to switch out any of your Magic's attunement slots for buffing. The reason why is because, to be honest, as you can see from before, you can tear people up even without buffing. And to buff, it really makes it not fun. Just like a better word, really. It's just it's not fun. It's not challenging. It's really boring. Okay, it's really boring. Now, on top of that, there's one more thing that I think this character, Lord Falcon, is really fun to play with if you limit yourself, and that's definitely not using grass. Okay, so you've got the Ninja Flip Ring, okay, which gives you a lot of iframes, a lot of invincibility frames, okay, and the next thing you should do for yourself is at least limit how you use it, you know, you're flipping, you know, you don't want to be flipping around everywhere all the time, you know, so that's the reason why I don't grass. Now, there is, however, an exception to that, and that's when you're dealing with people with buffs. That's the only time you'll grass. So let's talk about the build in terms of pros and cons, generically speaking. So the pros are, there's quite a few pros about this build, obviously. First of all, it has very high melee damage. It's 45 dex, and it's things like Gold Tracer, and also even the Chattel, and obviously the Falcon, and do output really high damage. You've also got your high magic damage as well, and it's also, remember, with 45 dex, it's a higher speed casting as well. So not only is it high magic damage, it also obviously means that it has harassability. So you've got your Dark Bead to harass people with as well, and obviously your Homing Crystal Soul Mass and Crystal Soul Spear. Now to top it off, you've also got the Darkwood Grain Ring, so that means that you can evade a lot of attacks. Okay, so you can get in and get out pretty quickly. Now in terms of cons with this build, okay, is obviously that it's very low vitality, so you have about 31 points in vitality, so that gives you about 1100 HP. So what that basically means straight away is if you get hit by any type of backstab, if you get hit by any stun lock, any combo, and you couldn't toggle escape in time, if you get hit by any lag spam of spells, okay, you're pretty much finished. Okay, and obviously buffs as well. So that leads into my second point of con is you don't have a shield. So sometimes turtling, especially against good players, okay, who basically they corner you and then they wait for you to flip, and then they punish your flip slash roll with a backstab. Happened to me quite a few times in some fight clubs as well. So definitely against good players, flipping everywhere isn't going to solve all the problems. So also you got your endurance issue as well. You're not grassing, you have a 32 endurance stat, so you're not going to be able to, first of all, stun lock or kill someone sometimes. I guess sometimes you may not kill someone when you really need to. And on top of that, you may not have enough rolls or flips with you to do that job. So that's basically it. So it's very low vitality in terms of cons, so all those things, the buffs, the spells, the backstabs, the parries, riposte, you don't have any second chance, basically, is what it means. So you have to play very, in a sense, you have to play cautiously, okay, with this build. But yeah, alright, so that's the pros and cons, generically speaking, for the build. So let's talk about some spells now. First off, we've got Dark Bead. Now, you're using Dark Bead in this build purely is to tell your opponents to back off. You harass them a little bit, and then you show them that, hey, I've got Dark Bead as well, you better be careful. And then once you've done that, you've had a little bit more breathing space usually, so then you can cast your Homing Crystal Soul Mass or your Crystal Soul Spear. Or, obviously, to allow your endurance to go back up. Obviously, Dark Bead is a very versatile tool. If you really hate whoever you're fighting, you can just go straight up to them and shoot it out, okay? But that's not really the main point of it. Now the second spell is, let's talk about, is the Crystal Soul Spear. Now the Crystal Soul Spear does a bloody lot of damage, and everyone knows that, okay? Even without any of the extras, rings, or be it the Dust Crown or anything like that, it does a lot of damage. So what you need to do is, obviously, you mix it up a bit with Homing Crystal Soul Mass and Crystal Soul Spear, because it's very, very fast. On top of it is when you know that the opponent is going to want to back off, okay, or you want to get a little bit of extra pressure, okay, on them. So you will cast it then. One tip for using that I found out with the Crystal Soul Spear is you'll have to line it up. So when someone is strafing you, sort of like with a dash attack and they strafe towards your left, you'll have to hold back, move to your left, and then shoot it. And usually they'll catch if they're doing a running attack, or at least it will get really close to them. Now, next one is the most important one, and that's definitely the Homing Crystal Soul Mass. Now, in order to use it perfectly is you need to be able to master the reverse backstep. And once you've done that, there's two main forms of things you want to do. The most important part is that you want to be as close to them as possible. Okay. And depending on the opponent that you're fighting, you can just trade hits. Use any curved swords, two-handed, and your DPS will be off the roof. Okay. You would win. Pretty much. Now the second type of opponent is the more careful, more cautious, possibly the higher level type player, okay, which would want to roll to escape, to lure out your Homing Crystal Soul Mass. And with those ones, you've got two ways of engaging them, okay. One is to equip yourself with something like the Fury Sword or the Chattel, okay, and you want to punish their roll, okay. The only thing you have to remember with their rolls is that due to lag, okay, people usually roll twice. So save your stamina and wait for the second roll and then hit the attack button. The second way to deal with it is some people love to roll into you. Okay, and something like that just then is you want to punish those type of rolls. So get ready to backstab. Okay, so don't swing wildly. Okay, once you've done it the first time, you swing wildly doesn't work, the second time it's not going to work as well. So you've got to mix it up. And last of all, in terms of spells, we've got the Fire Tempest. Very similar tactic, you want to drain them of endurance. So, make sure they have no grass, okay, make them roll a bit, dash in, Fire Tempest, and you'll hit. So that basically wraps up all my spells and stuff, okay, and we'll talk about the melee right now. So, let's talk about the Falchion. Now, the Falchion of all the other curved swords, to be honest, especially with this amount of endurance, is actually has the most DPS, does the most damage. It's really quick, so you would find that if you use the Fury Sword, for example, people can break out of the stun lock and escape usually, or they can attack in between, after your poise break in one hit. So basically, on the fourth hit, they can usually trade hits again with you. So, however, if you use the Falcon, that doesn't happen. It rarely ever happens unless they have most probably the 60 to 63 poise break point, or really high 50s poise break, so they regenerate in time. Now, having said that, okay, the Falcon I would definitely choose if you're finding someone who loves to trade hits with you. Okay, I would definitely equip the Falcon. Now, the next one is the Gold Tracer. Now, a lot of people think that, yeah, the Gold Tracer should out damage the Falcon. Not when it comes to this amount of endurance. You most probably need another 1 swing extra or 2 swings extra to cause bleed. Well, that's what happens to me, that's what I've seen. Otherwise, I would definitely just stick with the Gold Tracer personally. But it so happens to me that I actually prefer the Falcon over the Gold Tracer most of the time, because the Falcon does more damage, and because I can't get the bleed out on my Gold Tracer, so there is usually not much real point when I'm just purely trading hits. Now, however, I would use a Gold Tracer. It's really recommended you use a Gold Tracer when you're fighting someone who is obviously really defensive in a sense, okay, in terms of rolling, so they evade a lot of attacks. Now, obviously, bleed build-up is great in those times. Okay, so against flippers, against Darkwood Grain users, I highly recommend using the Gold Tracer. Now, next up is when you use the Chattel. Now, the Chattel is also very good against mostly rollers. I wouldn't say the Darkwood Grain Rim, because Darkwood Grain Rim people flip twice, and by that time it's pretty far away. So even your Chattel's R2 isn't going to reach, unfortunately. However, against people with a shield, or they just have a fast roll, the Chattel does really good wonders. Okay, you can even be very lazy on your reverse backstep pressure with your Homing Crystal Soul Mass, and you can still nail them with some good damage with your Chattel. So the times I use a Chattel is basically when I see someone walking around and they always have the shield up. They always have the shield up while they're walking around. You know that he's a defensive player. You know that he just wants to block your attack and then find an opportunity to trade hits or something like that. And that's when you do Homing Crystal Soul Mass, dash in, R2, R2, R2. And it does a lot of damage actually. You know, it just builds up. So usually the shield, they may not have good magic defense on it. So what will happen is you're going to get them about 500 each time anyway, regardless. So really powerful stuff with the Chattel. Now lastly, let's talk about the Fury Sword. Now the Fury Sword is what you're going to whip out when you're playing some top tier players, or people with higher poise than your usual 53, okay, and they're sporting some really heavy, strong ass weapons. So the thing about the Fury Sword is, first of all, I have to give mad props to Hell Servants, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have picked it up. I saw him play with it, and I thought, you know what, that's exactly what this build is missing. So I picked it up, and it really helps a lot with your melee zoning. Okay, it's very quick, it's great to punish attacks, and on top of it, as I was talking to you about using Homing Crystal Soul Mass, okay, it is a perfect match. It will catch people, okay, on their rolls very, very well. So definitely use this as the top tier weapon against better players. That basically wraps it up. So went over the whole build, limitations that you force on yourself, pros and cons, also about the weapons as well, and also the spell selection and the techniques of basically how to use this build. Now, I think in the end, I think this build is really strong actually, and if you were to min-max it, it would get a bit ridiculous. It could most probably even be a troll build, but with the limitations set in place, I think it's definitely really fun. It's really, you can make it a very extremely aggressive build, and at the same time, it's also a very dangerous build because you can die in like 1 or 2 hits. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and this is the last fight. And yeah, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Ta.